How's it going, you bunch of wimps? And today I'm going to take you through my 1 rep max testing day where I'm hopefully going to squat 200 kilos. So that was the intro in last week's video where unfortunately I worked up and I had to take a deload because everything just felt like an absolute ton of weight. So we've come back this week and the game plan today is to get this 200 kilos absolutely smashed. Now if I've cut this bit out from last week's video, I am a one-man band. I don't have like a videographer or anything and I've just got to make the setup the best that I can. And unfortunately I do have a tripod, which I did forget to bring today to HQ. So I've got my emergency tripod on top of a makeshift stand. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see that. Please try to ignore the background and just keep focused on me lifting heavy ass weights. So the game plan today is to get 200 kilo squats nailed for the first time in about 2 years, and I have done heavier than 200 kilos before. I have done 220, but that was before my back issues sort of flared up and came to light and I had to get my second procedure on my back, my stem cells, and at the time I was lifting like 5-6 days a week, whereas now I'm only lifting 3 days a week and my training is primarily aimed towards grappling and my jiu-jitsu training. So this will be, getting this to 100 will be like by far and away like my recent PB, but also my all-time sport PB, because when I was training full-time for judo I nowhere near touched 200 at that point, and I was a lot heavier back then when I was competing in that, whereas right now I'm sitting about 92, 93 kilos. So just working up on my kind of warm-up sets or my early working sets. So going to get a wee bit of reps to start with. So I've done a piss about with 60 and 100. I'm at 125 and I'm going to start from 5s and then just work it down. I'll just sort of show you how I would normally plan to actually get to a single on the day, because obviously you don't just come in and just put a weight on the bar, do one, put another weight on the bar, do one and work up. You do start with a wee bit of reps on the beginning just to get yourself nice and warm and ready to get into the singles later on. So somewhat of a misconception about doing 1 rep maxes and working up to a big heavy set is how much you can tire yourself out on the way up, and people always overestimate it and think that anything more than like a few really light and easy warm-up sets is going to burst them, and it's just not the case. And in actual fact, if you don't warm up properly going up to your single, it can actually put you at a disadvantage, because you're just going to basically shock your body with too much of a jump that is not ready for and you've not warmed everything up properly. So you actually want to give yourself a longer, easier run up to get to a 1 rep max. I'll probably do about 8 sets roughly. I'll do my first sort of 4. I've been doing a wee bit of reps, done 5 at 100, 4 at 125, I'm up at 150 where I'll do 3, I'll then do a double, and then it's from that point where I'll start the singles. And I know you want to start the singles as early as possible to conserve energy, but trust me, if you're a 200 kilo squatter, doing a few reps at 120 and 150 isn't going to tire you out, because if it did, you ain't a 200 kilo squatter. And on the way up, you don't want to be fighting through reps, you want to be nice and conserved, which is why you can take that nice longer run up. And the way that I prescribe my 1 rep maxes to myself and my clients is that you do maybe 4 warm-up sets of doing a kind of reps before you get into singles, and roughly I try and work it out so that you hit your peak single on your 4th set of singles. And again, you can get away with doing quite a lot of heavy sets of singles because it's retroactive fatigue you get hit with. What I mean by that is you don't feel too fatigued within the session, because again, you're only doing 1 rep, so theoretically you can actually do a fair amount of them without tiring yourself out too much. But again, it's that delayed onset of fatigue in the coming days, which is where you're really going to feel your central nervous system getting whacked. So this next set I'm about to do is 180, which is going to be the barometer, because last week this is where things really started to feel heavy and I knew that I had to pull back. So I'm hoping that this goes a little bit easier. Everything is feeling easier than it did last week, and you may be looking thinking that looks really fucking awkward, and that is because I am the ugliest squatter of all time and I spent years struggling to squat properly, which is why I was never very good at them and had to do front squats and ended up getting really good at front squats. With back squats, this is, although maybe it doesn't look particularly comfortable and it looks a wee bit janky and awkward and maybe not quite traditional to an extent, but it's just what I found works best for me, and that's where it's just most important when it comes to technique, that you're not just trying to do what's in the textbook and what's like the absolute, perfect quote unquote way to do it. It's just about finding the way that works best for you. So first single done at 180, which is great, and that should be pretty much as easy as it was there. My best recently has been 3 at 185, so anything over 185 is technically a recent PB for poundage. I am actually doing my jumps at the top end a little bit closer than I would normally would, and I'm doing 180, 190, 195, and 200, and that's because it has been about 2 years since I've had anything over 185 on my back. You may have noticed as well, I have had my knee supports on around my ankles until that first single there, and the reason behind that is it's just almost a little mental thing where I don't really need them on the warm-up weights, and I like to be able to add something in as the weight gets heavier because it mentally feels like I'm getting more help from it when I actually need it. That's why, and I would recommend to you that if you do strap up and belt up and all that type of thing, don't use it on the lighter like sets that you do, because then you're not going to feel quite as much benefit of adding it in when you get to your heavy sets. And realistically, that is when you're going to need it. Oh. Oh, I felt really fucking heavy because that did not feel like 190. That's how I was hoping my 200 would feel. That's probably, that might have to be my ceiling for today, is trying to get this 195 without breaking myself. Didn't feel my back at all there, which is good. Yeah, I just felt really fucking heavy. I got a bit of a shock there when I unracked that. We're doing 195 anyway, we'll see how that goes. 200 might not be on today, that might be for another day. When it comes to doing these big singles, that when you get to like the last few, you're fighting tooth and nail to get the reps. The reason that I always want to be conservative with my jumps is so that I never get that shock. Like, that there was a real fucking big jump. And you know, if I'd maybe done that jump 5 kilos heavier and I'd went from 185 to 195, I might not have been able to get that, and I might have had to like finish on 185. So it's not whacked me too much, I'm feeling all right now. But again, it's just really important that you don't just like chase the big jumps to conserve as much energy as possible. I actually felt a lot better than I thought. I think 200's on. How did that look?
It was borderline-ish.
What depth?
It was not bad.
Adjudicator came in at the right time. I went down a wee bit lopsided, but I think we'll go for 200. Can't set the camera up and not go for it. So let's see what happens. So obviously my dad telling me that was a bit borderline the depth there, I'm going to just really focus, make sure I get all the way down, and I will do a judicial review after, and I will watch it back and I will retroactively not claim it if I don't get to depth, and depth that I'm happy with. But here it goes. I'm confident. I'm confident. Oh yes! Woo! If I watch that back and it's not depth, I'll be very fucking annoyed. 200 kilos in the books, first time in about 2 years. We take it, and that is just since I started back squatting again since January. 7 months, I just adding 5 kilos at a time, 5 kilos at a time, so slowly building up from starting at 140 kilos to up to 200 kilos, 60 kilos in about 27, 28 weeks or something like that. Those small jumps, they add up, so always remember, it's not about trying to take the biggest jumps that you possibly can week to week and month to month. It's about as consistent jumps as you can make over the longest period of time. That's in my strong hand. So anyway, now that's done, a few wee minutes, and I will be moving on to some push press and pull-ups, and I'm just going to get fired right into them and not bore you with all the boring stuff. You're just going to see the lifts, and if I get them, and if I don't.